hope you're all doing okay. I'm coming at you with a slightly different video today. So if you've been subscribed to my channel for a while now, you'll know that I upload weekly studio vlogs every single week, and that is primarily what I do on this channel. I share behind the scenes of my business, what I get up to day to day running my business Prints by Millie. But I thought today I'd give you an extra video because I'm just that nice, and I thought I would share with you my experience of doing craft markets. So last year was my first year of doing craft markets with my Prints by Millie stall, and I just wanted to share with you how it went for me, my experience, if I'm going to continue doing craft markets, and just tell you what I've learnt and give you my top tips really. I'm also going to share with you how much I made from my craft markets last year, because I know that when I was thinking of starting doing craft markets around this time last year, I really did want to know if it would be worth it for me, and I couldn't find anywhere. No one was sharing how much money they actually made from doing craft markets. So I know it's personal information, and I'm not doing this to be like, look how much money I made, not at all. I was actually a bit in two minds as to whether to share this, because I appreciate why some people wouldn't want to, but I know I would have found it really helpful, so I am going to share that with you guys in this video. So I've wanted to film this video for quite a while, and I thought we're now coming into the craft market season again for this year. So I've got my first one booked in on the 1st of April. It's the Lincoln Indie Makers Market. They do have an Instagram page, so I'll link that down below if you wanted to check it out. But another thing to mention is that I am from Lincolnshire, and all my craft markets that I did do last year, they were in Lincolnshire. So that's another thing to consider when I'm talking about how much money I made and things like that. It's going to differ depending on where you live. If you live in a rural area, if you live in a city, all things like that. So it's going to vary a lot. So what I make isn't necessarily going to reflect what you could make. You could make a lot more than me, you could make less than me. There's no telling. So I'll just run you through my experience of doing my craft markets last year. So I did 16 craft markets last year, and they all took place between May and December. I had one pretty much every single month. Some months I'd have a few, but yeah, I did 16 in total. When you start doing craft markets, there will be a stall fee. So this is what you pay to actually have a space at the market, because obviously some markets are very limited. Sometimes you'll apply and you won't get a space, but if you do, there will be a fee attached. So all the craft markets I did, the fees ranged between £10 and £50. So it was £10 for the more really local ones to me, like in village halls, and then the £50 one was the craft and flea market that I did in Lincoln at the engine shed, and that was the one where I did actually make the most money. So the stall fees do vary, and they do usually reflect how much money you'll make or could potentially make at that market, so keep that in mind as well. So the most successful market I had, I made £256 in sales, and my least successful one, I made £44.50 in sales. So yeah, that's just a general overview of the kind of minimum to maximum that I made in sales at my craft markets last year. So 11 out of the 16 markets that I did last year, 11 out of 16 I made over £100 in sales, and 3 out of those 11 I made over £200 in sales. And in doing some mathematical calculations, I worked out that my least successful market, where I made £44.50 in sales, that market was between 11 AM to 3 PM. So across those 4 hours I made £44.50, which does actually work out at £11.12 an hour. So realistically, when you compare that to say like minimum wage, you are making above minimum wage there just slightly. And again, it's just exposure, isn't it? Like, I'll get onto that in a second as well, but I do think markets are great, not just for extra profits, but also for exposure and connecting with other people and other small business owners as well. So they were just some very brief points about my experience of doing craft markets last year and whether it was worth it for me. I definitely found them worthwhile, and I am going to continue doing them this year as well. Like I said, I've got one booked in on the 1st of April. That's going to be my first one of 2023. But what I want to move on to next is, because I presume those of you who will have clicked onto this video is either because you are interested in finding out about my craft market experience, if you're a small business owner or if you're not, But also you might be clicking on this video because you are yourself thinking of starting to do craft markets with your small business or hobby or whatever it is that you do creatively. So what I want to talk about next is for you to consider whether markets are for you, because there are lots of things to consider when you are thinking about starting craft markets, things that I didn't even consider myself. So let's get on to those now. So your first year of doing craft markets is always going to be trial and error. So in 2022, I booked in, like I said, 16 craft markets throughout the year. And I kind of just, as soon as I saw one that I was interested in, I'd just book it straight away without even thinking, without looking at the calendar or anything like that. So there came points within the year where I'd have 4 weekends with back-to-back markets. And let me tell you, that gets not only stressful, but exhausting, and mentally you feel like you just can't prepare for that craft market because you're just so overwhelmed from the previous one. You've got stock to make then in the next week, and if you're working a job as well alongside it, it can just get extremely stressful. So definitely check your calendar and don't overbook craft markets. My thought process was, okay, it's my first year of doing craft markets, so I'm going to book in as many as I can, then I can see which ones are worthwhile and which ones to do next year, which in a way has worked out for me because I know now which markets that I want to book in for this year, which is what I've done. I've taken my most successful ones and I'm just going to do those ones this year and any others that I am interested in doing. So in a sense it was a good thought process, but also I just wish that I'd have just looked at a calendar, as silly as it sounds, and not overwhelmed myself. So that is definitely a top tip. Get a calendar out. Another thing to consider when thinking about whether craft markets are for you or not is that it does cost quite a lot of money to set up your table and your first setup for your market. So buying all the display items, things like that. If you want your table or your gazebo or area to look really nice and inviting, you do have to spend quite a bit of money on getting that. So that is another thing to consider as well. So you need to think, if you are in a place financially, can you afford to get the things that you need? I mean, you don't have to get anything fancy. It depends what your business is, I guess. Your products might speak for themselves and you could just buy some boxes to prop things up on and that'd be it. But you'll need to buy a table, things like that, and it all adds up. So just go through, make a list on Amazon or whatever, add things to your basket that you think you'll need and tally up what it's going to cost you and see if it's going to be worthwhile for your business or if you can afford it in the first place. Another thing is to consider whether your lifestyle accommodates for you to be able to do craft markets. So if you're thinking of doing them quite frequently throughout the year, you need to think about, say if you've got children, childcare obviously, are you going to take your children along with you? If you do, good luck. No, I'm sure it would be fine. I mean, markets are so fun anyway. I'm sure they'd be able to keep themselves entertained, but also like if you've got a dog, who's going to look after the dog, all things like that. Can you take your dog with you? Because obviously you are out literally all day. You get there early in the morning to set up and you are there until late afternoon when you've packed down. And if you are traveling as well, that's probably an extra couple of hours. So you are out all day, so you do need to consider that as well. Another thing that I found quite tricky and didn't consider when I was thinking about doing craft markets was constantly having to replenish the stock that you sell. So one tip I've got for you is after each market, so during the market, make a list of everything you sell, and then when you get home or the next day, you can then make that stock again if you can. So I'm quite lucky because I do cards, prints, stickers, so I can make things quite quickly. Replenish that stock as soon as you can, and then you know you've constantly got everything you need ready for your next market, and you're not worrying the night before thinking, oh, I need to make that, I need to make this. Just get it done as soon as you can and constantly have your craft market inventory nice and full so you don't have to worry about last minute making, because that would just add so much stress. And I can vouch for that as well, because the first couple of markets, they were stressful. But yeah, just be prepared and make sure that if you are signing up to craft markets that you have a couple of days beforehand to get stock ready if you need to, but also a couple of days after or a few hours here and there to replenish the stock as well, so that you don't have to spend those couple of days before your next market making a load of stock. Okay, so what I want to move on to next is my top tips and what I've learned from my first year of doing craft markets. So there are a lot of these. I've got a huge list on my phone, so I'm just going to go through them as quickly as I can and hope that I've covered everything that I wanted to. But as always, if you do have any more questions, or if there's anything that I haven't covered that you'd like to know about or you have questions about, just leave them in the comments on this video and I will get back to you there. So I haven't written these tips down in any kind of order. They're literally all just on my phone like this, in a bit of a mess, to be honest. So I'm just going to go through them and tick them off as soon as I've told you my tips. Number one is, I've already kind of touched on this about prepping. So I've put, give yourself at least a couple of weeks to prep for your very first market. My very first market was the 15th of May last year, and it was very last minute. I signed up to it about 5 days before the 15th of May, so probably around the 10th of May, because I'm a very impulsive person and I had in my head, I'm going to start doing craft markets. I saw this one on Instagram, saw that it was coming up in a few days time. I messaged them and they said, oh, we do have a cancellation if you'd like to come to our market this Sunday. And I was going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then I typed back, yes please, I would love to. And then instantly I was thinking, why did I just do that? But I am so pleased I did. I'm a very impulsive person and sometimes that is not a good thing. Sometimes it is. In this case it did work out for me, so I've learned from that to give yourself more than 5 days to prep for your first market. I did do it, it was doable, but it was very stressful and there were many late nights. And of course it all depends as well on the type of products that you have to make, how long it takes you to make your products as well. So like I said earlier, my things are quite quick to make, so it wasn't too bad, but it was the packaging of the products that took time. So putting all the prints in their cellophane sleeves, things like that, it did all rack up. So yeah, I'd say give yourself at least 2 weeks before your first market to really get prepped, get your stock ready, buy all your equipment that you'll need as well, because I had to Amazon Prime everything, which worked out a little bit more expensive. So yeah, there's just little things like that to consider, but general rule of thumb, I'd say 2 weeks or more, depending on the nature of your product and how long it takes you to make it. Okay, the second point I've written down is that you can never predict what will sell well and what won't. So at my different markets, one market I would sell loads of stickers, they'd be my best sellers. Another market I would sell loads of prints and hardly any stickers. You could just never ever tell. So I'd just say, as a general rule of thumb, make your products, make the same amount of each for your very first one, so you can kind of gauge what sells, what to make more of for your next one potentially, things like that. So yeah, don't try and think, oh well, that's going to sell well, because you'll probably take it to your market and you won't sell a single one, which is what I found. So yeah, you can't, Otis is shaking. You can never guess what's going to sell well, basically. Even if you have an online shop like me, the things that sell well on there didn't really translate to my craft markets. My bestsellers online aren't necessarily bestsellers at my craft markets either. So yeah, there's just never any telling. My next point is to practice your setup before you get to your craft market. So I did actually do this. My first market was an outdoor one, so I had a gazebo. So in the garden, I put my gazebo up, and even that was a task in itself. If I'd have waited until the day to do that, I would have been so stressed out, because it did take quite a while because I didn't know how to put it up properly, and it took me a lot longer that very first time that I put it up. But when I got to the craft market the next day, I put it up in about 5 minutes, I think, because I just knew exactly how to put it up, what went where and things like that. So definitely practice your setup. Also take a picture of your setup as well, because if you lay everything out really nicely and you think, It looks so good. I'll try and put a picture on screen now of when I put my craft market stall up in my garden to practice, and then I'll show you what it did actually look like on the day. It was pretty much the same because I did take a picture of it, so I know exactly where everything went. So when I got to the craft market the next day, I could just look at my phone, look at the picture and think, right, that goes there, done, dusted. Talking about gazebos, my next point is to get a 3 metre by 3 metre gazebo. I started off with a 2 by 2 metre gazebo and it was fine because I had a 6 foot table and it just fit in snugly, but as soon as there was any wind, the wind would blow the sides of the gazebo into my stall and knock things off my table. So definitely get a 3 by 3 metre gazebo. You'll have so much more room as well inside there behind your table to move around, put your bags down, storage boxes, things like that. Don't cramp yourself up in a 2 by 2 metre gazebo. Trust me. Okay, my next points are about pricing. So number one is to always price your things really clearly, because I know from experience as well, I like to know exactly how much something is when I'm looking at it. I don't want to have to ask because I feel a bit rude, and I know quite a lot of other people think like that as well. So I literally have prices against every single one of my products, so it's really clear how much things are, and then people don't even have to speak to you if they don't want to. If they're a bit socially anxious or they're just not feeling it, they can just grab something and say, can I have this please, and you'll be like, yes sure, put it in a bag, give it to them, and they can walk off happily, not having to have socialised with you if that's not what they want to do, which is fine. I can be like that sometimes. So yeah, price things really clearly and you'll make life a lot easier for yourself and your customers as well. Another thing about pricing as well is to always have some kind of deal on either one product or a few of your different products as well, because that'll encourage people to purchase more things from your table. So I have on my stickers, I have a price for one sticker, and then I also have, they can get 3 for a certain amount of money and 5 for a certain amount of money, and get money off if they get 3, and then if they get 5 they get even more money off. So customers think, oh well, I'm not going to get 1, I may as well get 3, or then they'll look at the 3 one and think, oh well, I may as well get 5, it's only a couple of pounds more. So yeah, definitely always have deals. Same with my greeting cards as well, they're 4 for 10. So people are more inclined to pick up 4 rather than spending £3 on 1. They just get a few to put in their cupboard to use for future occasions as well. And the last thing about pricing as well is to have a cheaper product to entice people in. So if people aren't intending to spend money at your stall, they might see this one cheap product and think, oh that's really cheap, I might pick that up. Or if they've got a kid and they really like the look of it, they're not spending a lot on them. If they just want to pick it up as like a little gift for the day or something like that, they're only spending say 50p or £1. So my stickers are the cheapest thing on my stall, and I can't remember exactly how much I sell them at, £1 something. Always have deals, have a cheap product to entice people in as well, because you'll often find that if they look at the cheap product, they then are drawn in and they're looking at your table and they might see something else as well that they really like and pick that up too. So yeah, they're my 2 pricing tips, as well as pricing everything really clearly. Coffee break. So my next tip that I've got written down is to be friendly and make friends with the stall holders around you. If you get on really well at that craft market, you will most likely definitely see those again, and it's lovely to see the same faces and to get to know them as well on a personal level. It just makes the markets more exciting and you feel like you've got some friends there with you as well, which is really nice. Also, if you're going to your craft market alone, then I often found that the stall holders next to me, when I've gone on my own before, they'll say, like, if they're going to get a coffee, they'll say, do you want me to get you anything? Do you want a coffee, hot drink? Do you want any food? And I'll give them some cash and they'll get me something as they go for their lunch break or coffee break or something like that, if they've got someone else with them and I'm on my own, which is really lovely. But yeah, that's another tip as well. If you've got someone who would like to go with you, do take them along, because if you need to go to the toilet or you want to get a drink or anything at all, you want to go and talk to another stall holder, then they can be there by your stall to just watch over everything. And if anyone does come over, they can say, oh, she's just nipped to the toilet but she'll be back in a minute, if they're not comfortable in taking payments or anything like that. So it is always handy to have someone there with you, even to help you set up, pack down, things like that as well. It is doable on your own, and I personally don't mind going to markets on my own. I take a book with me sometimes, take my AirPods, listen to a podcast if it's gone quiet. I do quite enjoy it, but it is really nice to have someone there with you as well. So yeah, if you have a friend or family member who would like to go along with you, definitely take them up on the offer and take them along with you. My next point is about actually setting up your table and your space. So your space at a craft market is basically a little reflection of you and your brand. So you want your table and your space to reflect that as well. So most of the things on my table are pink because my branding is pink, and pink's my favourite colour if you haven't guessed. I wanted to reflect that with my stall as well. So even little things like the little crates that I use to store things in, they're pink. I'll have a little plant on there as well just to make it cute and pretty. I've had a few comments before from people who say that my stall looks very clean, and I don't know how to take that. I definitely took it as a compliment, but I've had the words clean, fresh, I can't think what else, but I think it's because I have a white tablecloth as my base, and then everything on the table I do set out quite methodically, and I don't like to clutter it too much because often I think less is more when it comes to a market stall. If need be, you could even have two tables. If you've got loads of products, have two tables so that your one table is not just absolutely swamped with things, because people won't know where to look. They won't know what to look at or what's what. So if you do have a lot of stuff, take limited products, limited amount of stock on one table, or I'd suggest having two tables if the space accommodates for that, like in an L shape even, and just spread everything out so that it's not really cramped and overcrowded. So another part of my brand is that my slogan is doodles and designs to brighten your day. So I also want my stall to reflect this as well. So what I do is, for where I display my wall art prints, so I have them in different sizes, I have my funny wall art prints at the front so that when people go past, they'll say, oh, that's funny, that's me, that is. So for example, I have one displayed that says welcome to the madhouse, and if I had £1 coin for every time someone walked past and said, oh, we need that, we definitely need that in our house. Or for example, I have another one that says water the plants. That's a good one as well. People always walk past and they say, oh, I need that to remind me my plants are dead. Things like that. It just catches their eye, and it's a talking point as well. They start talking about one of your products, and I've had a few cases where people then come back and say, oh, we saw this earlier and we've come back to get it. So yeah, definitely try and have a talking point on your stall as well to draw people in. Yeah, my next point is to buy a card reader. So most of the markets I've gone to, pretty much nearly everyone pays by card, either contactless on their phone or by actually using their debit or credit card. Not many people use cash, to be honest. Some people do. I feel like if people go to craft markets, they do take cash with them, and most of the time people will say, oh, I've got cash or card, do you take card? I'll be like, yes, I do. It's completely up to you however you want to pay, but most people do prefer to pay by card. So I have the Sum Up card reader. I'll leave the link in the description. I don't have it on me now because it's in the garage packed with all my craft market things. But yeah, I really rate that one. The battery lasts ages, but I do recommend just charging it up before every single craft market, just so you definitely know that it's not going to run out of battery, because that wouldn't be fun. That would be very stressful. Also, do get yourself a little cash float going there as well to take with you, just in case anyone does want to pay using cash, so you've got some change for them. Another thing I've learned from my experience as well is to pack smart. So don't just cram everything in your car. So for my first market, I had everything in tiny little tubs, and I just put them all in my car, stacked them up on top of each other. They were sliding about everywhere, doing my head in. So for my next market, I bought some big boxes from Dunelm, I think they were, just like, you know, the big plastic ones with the lids on, and I can just store everything in there, put those in my car. So it's literally just like 2 or 3 boxes with my table, my gazebo, tablecloth, things like that, all packed on top, and nothing slides around. I also line my car as well with an old bed sheet or a blanket I use sometimes as well, just so that nothing slides around and it's all nice and secure, and it also doesn't scratch your car up as well if you put a blanket down or something first. So yeah, definitely recommend doing that, and get yourself some big storage tubs to pack everything in. Pack smart and make your life a lot easier for yourself. So the next tip on my list is to have your brand logo displayed really clearly on your stall. So me personally, I have a PVC banner that I bought. I can't remember where I bought it from, but I know printed.com do them. And they have like little eyelets in the corner so you can pin them to your tablecloth, and they are really good. They're really sturdy and they're really eye-catching, so I definitely recommend them. For my first market that I didn't have one because I had ordered it but it hadn't arrived in time for my market. So what I did was I just printed my logo onto an A3 piece of paper, put it in a cellophane sleeve, and then I paper clipped that to, not paper clipped, safety pinned that to my tablecloth at the front. So it was fine, it did the job, but when my PVC banner came, that really changed the game and it looks so much better. So yeah, definitely display your logo nice and clearly, because even if people don't buy something, they'll remember your logo and your brand name, or if they see it, they can then look you up on Instagram or social media or anything and give you a follow as well. It's just really handy to have your name out there so people know who you are and what you do. Linking on to that as well is my next point, which is to always have business cards on your table ready for people to grab as they walk past. Loads of people at pretty much every single craft market I've done, loads of people just walk past, they like the look of your things and they take a business card. They might come back later on, or they might place an order on your website, say the next day, which has also happened before. Or say if you do things in different colours but you've not brought every single option with you to the market, you can say to them, take a business card, everything's on my website. If there's anything else you like the look of, or if you wanted this in a certain colour, it is on my website for you to order. So take a business card and then you can look at it whenever you please. And that works a treat. People really like to do that because then they can still support you even if you don't have exactly what they wanted on the day. So always have business cards or flyers on your table ready for people to take. Some of the time they will then convert into online customers as well if you have an online store, so it's definitely worth doing. And if they have your socials on there as well, like your Instagram, I gain quite a lot of followers from doing craft markets as well, so that's another positive. You gain a following, people are then invested in your business, they're following your journey, and it's just really lovely. So yeah, definitely get some business cards printed. I use Vistaprint for mine, so again I'll leave the link for those in the description too. So I only have 2 points left on my list. One is to take lots of water with you, or take a big bottle, because you are there all day. Don't dehydrate yourself, you'll get a headache, you'll want to go home early and you'll put yourself in a bad mood, and we don't want that. So stay hydrated, take some water or lots of drinks with you as well. And my last point is really important, and it's to not be discouraged if you have a bad market day. It's only normal to feel slightly discouraged after those market days, but at the end of the day, there were people there who bought from your stall and have supported your business. And even if you've had a bad sales day, you'll probably get followers on social media. They might then convert into future customers. You've exposed your business to more potential customers, and that's always a good thing. So don't be discouraged. If your very first market doesn't go well, don't stress. Some of mine haven't gone very well. You've just got to get up, go to the next one and see how that one goes and go from there. Always keep going, better yourself every single market you do, and you will get there and have successful market days. And lastly, I just wanted to mention what I made from doing my craft markets in 2022. So like I said, I did 16 across the year. My total sales across those 16 markets totaled to £2,057.75, and then the total profit with the market stall fees taken off came to £1,602.75. So across all my 16 markets that I did in 2022, my total profit at the end of it all was £1,602.75, which averaged out at, let me just quickly work it out because I've not got that written down and I can't do maths in my head, divided by 16, averaged out at £100.17 per market day, which I think is pretty good. I'm happy with that, definitely. So yeah, I hope you found that useful as like a realistic kind of what you can make from doing craft markets. Again, I live in Lincolnshire, so it can vary completely depending on what you sell and where you live as well, and where you do your markets. I really hope you found this video helpful. Like I said earlier on, if there's anything else you would like to know, then just leave it in the comment section and I will get back to you on that. I would love to know if any of you are thinking of doing craft markets, or if you've done your first one recently, how did it go? Or what are you nervous about? What are you excited for? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to get a chat going down there and we can all support each other. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I upload studio vlogs every single week. If you are new here, definitely subscribe if you'd like to see those. I'll link some of my previous ones on the screen in a minute for you to watch if you'd like to. I'd really love for you to join us and for you to be here. If you found this video useful, please give it a like as well. That would really help me out. And yeah, I hope you all have a lovely day whatever you are up to. Thanks so much for clicking onto this video, and hopefully I'll see you in another one. Bye for now.